yesterday. So we created it by just doing enter data. So a measure table is good for you to have a single place where your DAX measures are, so you can reference them if you need to audit your formulas rather than it being scattered all about. So right now we are going into the other logical functions which I didn't mention before yesterday due to time. But before we go into is blank, so I'll be showing is blank. Before we go into is blank, I'm going to create a new measure. So I just want to ask us this simple question. If you divide a number by 0, what would you get? If you divide a number by 0, what would you get? In Excel, for those that use Excel, what would you get if you divide a number by 0? Error. What sort of error would you get? What's there's a particular error that you normally get in Excel if you divide a number by 0. Any Excel analyst in the house? Okay. Okay. So I guess my audience, they are still thinking about that, right? So right now I'm going to create a measure. So remember yesterday, like I said, when you want to start off with a measure, you first give it a name, then you do an equal to sign. So that's how you start your expression. And I'm going to do this thing in two simple ways. I'm going to do normal using operators. So I didn't mention it yesterday, but just like in Excel, you can do simple operators. What do I mean by operators? Using the divide, the slash sign, the plus sign, the minus sign, the multiplication sign. You can do it in DAX as well. I'll just do 5 divided by 0. I'll click on this to commit it. I call this measure T underscore divide 1. So I'm going to create another measure. I'm going to create another measure. I'll call it new measure. I'll call it T underscore divide 2. And I'll say equals to. So there's a measure in Power BI called the divide measure, the divide expression. So it's part of the expressions you can use for in Power BI. It's very useful if you want to get like percentage. Most times you will divide something, then you change the data type to a percentage. So in this case, I'm going to do the same. I'm going to do the same process which I did. I'm just going to divide. So divide argument asks for two things. So once you start writing an expression, you notice that it asks for, we have arguments. These are called arguments. You have the numerator. You have to supply a number above. That's what the numerator is, and denominator. And we have alternate result. Don't look at the alternate result yet. We're going to touch on that later. But just look at this normal result. So I'm going to do 5. So 5 is the numerator. That's the number above. And I'll do comma, and I'll do 0. So 0 is the number below. And I can close my bracket and the formula will still work, because remember I said yesterday, all these formula expressions that have these square jackets, they are optional arguments. Like I can close my bracket and I'll click commit. So I have T underscore divide 1, T underscore divide 2. Who has any idea? With these two measures give me the same results? This T underscore divide 1 and T underscore divide 2. Somebody stated before that it gives an error if you try to divide a number by 0, which is logical. But these two measures, who have any idea? Will they give the same result if I keep it on a card visual? Will they give the same result, or would one be different? Or who has tried it? What sort of result would you think we will experience from the two measures? They'll be the same thing. Oh, interesting. So interesting. I like people's opinion that yeah, they'll be the same thing. Okay. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense because it's like we're doing the same thing. Five divided by 0 is still the same process. They should be the same thing. I'll just take that. Okay, so I'll just tick on this. By ticking on this, I can get a visual on board. I have infinity for this one, and this measure. Okay, I can't really see what it said, but I guess you need to zoom. I should zoom in, right? So you can see. Okay, okay. So I got a response, an interesting response from who is this? So I scroll down. They won't be the same thing. The one we divide will be able to avoid infinity as an answer. Okay, so Malcolm is probably a seasoned Power BI user. So the normal one gives, this is the normal one, just 5 divided by 0. It gives infinity because it makes no sense. That basically it gives infinity. And this T underscore divide 2, we have a blank here. We have a blank here. So I'll just showing this to let you know that sometimes is, even though you can do the same measure using an operator. That means you can do okay. Okay, so even though you can do the same measure using an operator, the result you get using an expression most times could be way more accurate or way better than the result we get using a an operator. So the operator in this sense is 5 divided by 0. You seeing infinity, you'll be confused like, oh, what was this infinity stating? For those non-Power BI non-seasoned Power BI users rather, you'll be wondering, oh, what's this infinity state here? But I can relate a bit more to the blank. Oh, it's showing blank. Okay, okay. But if I want to sort of solve this issue, I don't want it to show blank. Okay, I know. Okay, if by chance there's a 0, there's probably going to be a 0 in one of my expression. What if this numerate this denominator is a dynamic? Maybe it's dynamic. Maybe it's a parameter we set. So there's possibility that there could be a 0. So we don't want to see this blank. There are two ways we could handle this. I'll show one way and I'll show another way. So under this my expression, I'll just do shift enter and I'll use an if statement. I'll use if, and under this for the logical test, because I know this is going to be this is going to lead to a blank, this could lead to a blank expression rather. So I'll just say if is blank. So is blank is just a logical expression. Most logical expressions evaluate to 1 or 0, which is true or false. So it will check it if is blank. That means if the output of this expression is blank, what should happen? The is blank part of this formula is sorted already. You are saying the logical test is if, then we have, I'll just hit tab to make it more aligned. Yeah. So we have is divide is if the output of this divide expression is blank. So we see this part, then we just do a comma. Like, oh, sorry, I didn't close my bracket for the is blank. Then do a comma. What do we want to happen if the output of this is blank? We can say um we can even have the result as a statement, or we can just say, okay, we want a value of 5 because we know the right answer should probably be 5. So we can keep a result if false, but in this case we could just leave it as as no result, and we close our bracket. We tick the commit button, and we can see we've sorted this to be 5 using if and the is blank function, is blank expression. Now we could have actually sort, this is kind of like the long method on sorting this. So I'm going to just get rid of this is blank and this if, but it's also good. This use case scenario, the other use case scenario, you may need to use the is blank. So I just want to let you know that for the is blank, all you're just stating is that the output of your expression leads to a blank value. That's what is blank is just stating. The output of your expression, it leads to a blank value. And when it evaluates, it states, is it true? Is it false? And that is what normally feeds with a logical test. So one thing you need to know that logical test evaluates to either a true or a false value, and that will lead the if expression to give a result if false or result if true. So is blank and most of the logical expressions work well hand in hand if with the if statement um very well. So the easier way method we could have done this to solve that issue is after this numerator, so the denominator is 0, right? So we have another argument which states alternate results. And this argument is what could help us solve that initial using the is blank, the if part of it. So for this alternate result, is it's Power BI is saying that, oh, okay, this thing may not give a meaningful answer, right? So what answer should it give if the output of the expression is wrong, right? So under this alternate result, I'll give it 5. And I'll close bracket. Let's see. We have 5 here. So that's just a quick way on how you can solve those issues and how you can use its blank expression. Okay, so yeah, Samson said why not use 0? So yeah, 0 is fine. I'm just I'm just saying that the use case scenario, you may think, okay, why you may think that, okay, maybe it's an error from the person that was doing it. Why would the person be divided by 0? But yes, you can use 0 as well. So 0 is the ideal one. So 0 is the ideal response as well. So you can use 0. So this is just a simple use case of scenario scenario of this. So back to the logical expression, we can even use not with this same issue using the not expression. So for the not expression, so the for the not expression, so I'll just say if under the logical test, I'll now keep not. Trying to arrange this to make a whole lot more sense. This is not. So I'm going to say if divide is not. I'm thinking of the logic I'm trying to apply to this. So it's the logic I'm trying to apply. If the divide is not if divide, okay, if divide 5 0 comma it's not 5. Let me see. Let me see what the output of this expression is going to be. So we have 1. Yeah, exactly. So what I just said is the not argument. You're just stating that something is not what it is. So I just said if the output of this if this divide 5 and 0, so not is good for the result if true. So I'm saying, okay, this thing is not true. If the result 5 and 0 is not 5, which is not 5, then it should give me an alternative result. That's a result if false to be 1. And we have that. So that's just playing around it. Yeah, 0. Yes, my audience like 0, so I'll change this to 0. So yeah, so that's just using if not. If not is blank, is blank. All you just need to know is that those measures, those not is blank, they evaluate to either a true or a false. So that's how the argument is going. Is this thing true? Is this thing false? So once you know the logic in your head, what you want to achieve, writing the expression is easy because you are just stating something is not something or something is something. So that's how logical expressions are basically. So right now I'm going to go into the data tab. I'm going to go scroll down, go to this date table, right? So scroll into the date table. So remember, we created this workday using the if and the or function. We used it to create this workday. So I just using bringing it to our notice so we remember how we created this, right? And I said yesterday that I'll show how we could do all of this in this single date table expression. That leads us to using something called variable. Maybe I will touch that after I've touched other expressions as well. So under this report page, I don't know. Hope the not and the blank function and the divide function as well is hope the explanation. Hope you got the explanation, or should I recap? Hope it's clear. You can type in the chat if it's clear, or if you need another example to drive it home.
Please, I would like you to give another example to explain the blank function. Joseph, please, can you hear me?
Yes, I heard you. I heard you, Myra.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I can see somebody came here. Okay, so let me okay, so one thing I like doing is, okay, if you do not get it in Power BI itself, let me go back to use a more friendly tool to explain the measure, which is Excel per se. Excel, yeah. So I'll just use Excel because Excel, we understand cells. Some of us relate to cells and cells more than relating to column, but it's the same way it works in Excel. That's how it works in Power BI, the exact same way. So right now I'm going to say um, so right now I'm just going to say equals to sum. So this even gives a 0, not a blank. So I'm looking for something that is a blank. Okay, I know what I'll do. So I'll say equals to sum. So I'm going to sum these two. I'm going to sum these two. I'll sum it. We get 167. Then I'm going to say, I'm going to come and say if this cell, which is this copier cells, if cell F4 is blank, so I'm just going to say is blank. So see what is blank asks for, the value, which is this. If this cell is blank, what do I want to happen if it's blank? That's just simply what is happening. So if this cell is blank, I want Excel to sum this range. If not, I want Excel to probably give me a 1. A zero. Let me just say 0. Let me just say a 0. Okay, so it's not reading this cell as blank. So I'm just looking for a way to make. Okay, this work, what I did was, but instead of this, I'm going to delete this, and I'm going to change the format of this from number, just make it a text. Right. Now say A. So I'm saying A here. So because it's a text value, right? So that's why how it's reading it as blank. It's not a number. So it's that's sort of how it's reading it as blank. So if this is blank, um, we get the sum of these two. If not, we should get 0. Okay, it was even working before, so I didn't even need to. So like I said, if this is blank, we get the sum of these two. If not, we get 0. So let me just make this 1 and we get 0. Let me make this 2, we get 0. So that's how it works. So what is blank is saying is that your formula, your expression, or your formula, it's the same way it works in Power BI. That's the same way it works in Excel. If the output of this cell, if this cell F4 is blank, if it is blank, we should get something else. So that's why I said if is normally used in conjunction with other, with if majorly, or is used in conjunction. Is blank is used in conjunction with other expressions. Because on its own itself, it's just stating, oh, it's true or it's false. So I'm just gonna delete this, and I'm just going to say equals to is blank this cell, and I'll hit enter, and it says true. Can you see this? So the output of is blank. I'm using Excel because it's you can see how the cell is working the same way it works for Power BI as well. So and for those that are not aware, so actually Power BI initially Power BI is sort of like a combination of different tools from Excel, which sort of led to the birth of Power BI, because Power BI started from Microsoft first starting to keep Power Pivots in Excel, started keeping Power Query, started keeping DAX in Excel. Then Microsoft said, you know what, let's build a tool called Power BI, because Power BI and Power BI offers a lot more should I say a lot more reporting capabilities rather than Excel. So I use Power BI because it's something more. I use the Excel to explain this because I believe it's relatable a bit. So that's how ISBLANK work basically. The output of all this is blank, not, and they all lead to either a true or a false. A and a true is a 1, a false is a 0. So that's how it works. I don't know if that's clearer now that I did it in Excel for you, Maiwa.
It's clear, Joseph.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I heard it. So
Yeah.
thank you that
Yeah.
that's clear. Okay, now we're going to talk about the almighty calculate function. So I'm sure a lot of us we've heard of calculate function, calculate. What is calculate? Calculate. Most seasoned Power BI users like Malcolm, Malcolm and the rest on this call. I know a few on this call as well. We've heard of calculate. We've used if you're writing DAX, I will say like 80% of the time you're writing a an expression that deals with the use of calculate, if not more. So I'm just saying a rough statistics. So calculate expression. What does calculate do? So right now I'm going to create a new measure and I'm going to call this I'm just going to call this testing calculates. Testing calculates. And I hit tab and I'll call this calculates. So calculate expression. Calculate evaluates an expression in a context modified by filters. So calculate request for two things. The one thing I need to say, Microsoft needs to sort of explain its English for the common users because I'm sure normally reading this, some people may be like, okay, what does this mean? Evaluates an expression in a context modified by filters. What does this mean? Right? So calculate requires something called an anchor measure, a measure that an anchor measure could be an aggregate measure, a measure that leads to a a scalar value, a value. It leads to a value. Like let's say now the sum of a particular column, right? The sum of a particular column. But if you want to add filters to that column, so remember yesterday, for those that were not around yesterday, um, okay, so I'll just hit this, though this will give an error. But for those that were not around yesterday, we did something for some X. So let me just look. Was it revenue for parts? Yes, revenue for parts. We did all of this for revenue for parts. So we wanted to see the situation that, okay, what if we want to see the revenue in this our data set for just a specific parts, for just a specific part. So we had to use something like a sum X to help us filter our revenue. And we didn't just use sum X alone, we used sum X in conjunction with the filter expression to help us to filter our revenue to do something like a sum if, which Excel users use in Power BI. So we did that with sum X. We calculate makes life a lot easier. What calculate is just stating is that calculate is stating that you should provide an expression. An expression is something you've already created before, an explicit measure you created before, which leads to an output. It's like your revenue sum. So when you've already summed up the revenue column or you've counted up the revenue column, which these are termed as anchor measures because they are used for your calculate expression. So right now, when you already have a revenue or you have an expression already created to calculate the revenue, and you now want to see you now want to filter this revenue by different things. Okay, you want to say, okay, what if I want to see this revenue by just parts? What if I want to see this revenue by copier sale? What if I want to see this revenue by printers? Okay, what if I want to see this revenue um at a particular date? What if I want to see this revenue year to date? What if I want to see this revenue at a particular period? That is what calculate can help you to do. Calculate to look at, okay, supply me supply me an expression. Okay, you supply it an expression, which is like your revenue sum. You now say, okay, calculate. You now ask you, what filters do you want to keep on your expression? What do you want to see? Calculate help you to do things in row like context. Row like context. Power BI normally use column context, but calculate could help you to achieve that thing. So in this example, I'll just be showing a simple use case of calculate. Then we start going to more advanced case of calculate, and this calculate is the building block and one of the most building block for time intelligence calculations. You need to use a calculate expression to get to time intelligence calculations. So for calculate, remember I said you have to have had like an anchor before the expression which will be used, the expression you want to filter by. And the expression in this case is revenue. So we've done this revenue expression before. For those that are just joining us, we have this revenue expression before, which is just the simple sum of the fact sales revenue. So I'm going to come here. So this is our first statement. I'm going to do shift enter to do a line break, remember, and I'll just type revenue, and I see this revenue here. This is an expression. The expressions have this calculation type logo. I have this, then comma. I want to see some filters on this revenue. Okay, I want to see this revenue. What if I want to see this revenue for just parts? I want to see this revenue for maybe printers. I want to see this revenue for a particular line of business instead of all the line of business. I want to see this revenue by that. The next argument is filter. So we can filter this revenue by something. So in this case scenario, I'm just going to do part line of business is equal to, and I'm just going to do a quotation for parts. And I close my bracket and I hit enter. So I'm going to bring this here. We have 7.56 billion. And I'm going to show the previous way we did this revenue for parts with SumX. I'm going to click on this. Well, it's showing 8 billions. The difference between these two is basically the decimal place. How I can either get rid of the decimal place or probably add the decimal places by clicking on the measure, then under this format icon, I can change the decimal places to 2 if I wish. So with this, we can see we have the same result which we had with using our SumX function and using the normal calculate function. So my question will now be which would you normally go for? Using this SumX calculation to calculate the revenue for parts, or using this calculate expression, which is it testing calculate, which is quite, which to some extent is quite easier also. It's quite easier. So which would you go for? Which would you go for? So the two of them outputs the same answer, but that's using calculate instead of using SumX to do the calculation. I'm going to create a new measure. So we're also going to test, we're going to take calculate further a bit. We're going to test calculate. Let's push calculate to the limit. So I'm going to do T underscore calculate 2. I'm going to call this calculate 2, and I'm going to call this equals to calculate. And I'm going to use the revenue sum again, which is the revenue. So there's one thing we need to know. Calculate has something called calculate modifiers. Calculate modifiers in this case are what we call like filters. Basically, they are the calculate modifiers. And the calculate modifiers we have all. We have all except, we have keep filters, we have remove filters, which could be used, which are some of the modifiers which could be used for a calculate expression. The question is, why would you need to use a calculate modifier? Why wouldn't you need, why should you use a calculate modifier? Why shouldn't you use a calculate modifier? I'm going to, before I do this measure, I'm just going to create a simple, so with this testing calculate, I'll change this to a metrics, visual, because I want to show, and I'm going to click on line of business. Just going to click on line of business. It's showing me parts. So it's showing me just the revenue for parts, right? So I'm going to, what I want to show is the reason why you need to show use calculate modifiers. So let's give an instance. So calculate normally work with filter context. So filter context in the sense that, oh, there's a filter when you click on a simple. So let me just go out of this measure. I want to drive it home so it's a lot more. So rather than just doing it, we understand why we're doing it. So when I click on line of business and I'll click on revenue, click on line of business here, and I'm just going to scroll up and I'll just tick revenue that I have created here. So we can see this revenue, like I stated earlier on, this revenue is calculated. Power BI goes, does the filter context on it. Let me show it as a table so we can see it, and it evaluates the revenue for each of these line of business, and it gives this 73 million. So Power BI applies the filter context to this revenue. So what if we want to get rid of the filter context? We just want to reference this 73 million regardless of if it's service plan, parts, copier, sales, printer. We don't care. We just want to reference this 73 million. What we'll do is we'll create a new measure. Okay, sorry, instead of creating a new measure, since I have that testing calc that I have here, let me just edit it. So I'm going to click on this testing calc. So remember, the next part of calculate is requesting for a filter. And in this filter part, we can now use what we call the calculate modifiers, which are the all key filters, remove filters, all except. Those are the popular calculate modifiers. So I'll be showing what all does. I'll call this all, calculate all. So all asks you for the table name, the table you want to returns all rows of the table or all the values in a column, ignoring all filters that might have been applied. That's what it's stating. But I will show it in a table visual. These are expressions we are going to create. I'm going to call this LOB, line of business. So I'm just going to say I want to see the all revenue for all the line of business, and I'm going to commit it. So I'm going to bring this, click on this testing calculate to. We have 73 point something billion is correct. But I'm going to come here and I'm going to click on a line of business. I'm going to click on this. Let me change it to a table visual so that can we see this? Can we, are my audience still with me? Can we see this?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Can we see this 73 million
Yeah.
repeating itself? Normally, when you
Please,
see,
can I see the centers, please?
you said,
The centers. I didn't
okay,
get it.
yeah, I'm going to scroll up. Let me just click on, I called it testing calculate two. Was it two? I'm sorry. Let me just,
True,
okay,
yes.
this it. Yes. So all,
Joseph, Joseph, sorry for interrupting. You made a remark about the or function. You said it's going to return. You want it to return all this column. I can't see very low of something. Will it return all of it or the direct opposite? Or do you? I don't know if you are getting what I'm trying to say. Like I'm trying to like get the main difference between all and all except. But when you made the remark, I'm I'm not really sure if I got the statement right.
okay.
Hope you get my question.
I get your question. So let me just scroll like this. So let's even read what it says. When I type or, so one thing I like doing is before showing something, so we can say it together. So it said return all rows in a table or all the values in a column, ignoring any filters that might have been applied. So what it's doing is returning this 73 billion, which is our actual revenue, right? Is return all rows in a table or all the values in a column, ignoring any filters that might have been applied. So that means if we apply this copier sale, parts, printer sale, service plan filter, it will ignore the filter and it will still give us this revenue. I don't know if it's, oh, I think that's what you were trying to say, right? Is that what you were trying to say?
So how about yes, yes, thank you. How about if it's all except?
Okay, so I'll get to all except don't worry, just let's go to this. I will quickly this one. So I'm going to do all except. So beyond just stating it, let's see it. Let's see it in action and we read. That would also help us to equally judge as well what's the difference between these two. So I'm going to call this T calculate 3, and I'm going to call this equals to, call this calculate. Remember, calculate, you have to provide an expression. And I'm going to use the revenue for my,
Hi,
and
Joseph.
this, hello?
Yeah, please, can you zoom a little?
Okay, I'm zoomed
Use
in.
the,
Okay,
yeah,
is this better? Okay.
at least,
Oh,
yeah.
okay, I'm going to use all excepts. But this time, what does all except state? All except return all the rows in a table except for those rows that are affected by the specified column filters. So this explanation, I can understand why Malcolm is saying it as a bit tricky, but let's put it into more um into practice, right? So I'm going to give it a line of business. This is the table. So all except request for the table, and I'm going to do the column to be this line of business, right? And I'm going to just close my bracket for this, and I'm going to close my bracket for this. Okay. The expression that you specified as argument to the all except function includes all the columns in a table. Therefore, there is no result that can be returned. Specify fewer columns. So what this basically means is I should filter the columns, right?
You need to add a filter. If you go back.
Exactly. So instead of this, I'm going to count this. So it's requesting for. So for this table, I'm going to try to filter the LOB. I'm going to call this cost to parts, right? So we did allow me. Okay, so it actually requests for a physical table, not a virtual table. So that means before this all except, I have to keep my filter on this all except. So for this filter, I'm going to call this LOB, line of business. And what do I want to filter this by? This by all except. So I'm just trying to think of the use case scenario for this syntax. So you know what? Let me even reread what this syntax is. So yeah, all except is good. There are use cases for it, though I normally prefer using stuff like all remove filters, keep filters. But so all except returns all the rows in a table, except for those rows that are affected by the specified column or filters. Okay, so under this filter, I'm going to filter this line of business. Then I'm just going to do all except. Mm. Mm, 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 mm. You know what?
Can you
I'll
hear
get
me?
back to it. I'm
Okay,
just
yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. It seems our data set doesn't suit the function. Hello, can you hear me?
exact.
Thank you for
Yeah,
trying.
exactly. So yeah, like you said, so our data set. Well, not particularly the reason, but there's a workaround it. Maybe I'll get back to it at the end of this class. But
All right.
yeah, all except is good, but ideally you could use a what use case scenario would you want to use all except for? Maybe you want to keep the filters except for a particular column. So in that case scenario, a keep filter could also work. So I'm going to
You said what, please? You said what? Which filter?
keep keep filter. Maybe you want to
Okay.
um keep filter. So a keep filter could also work. But I'm trying to recall maybe our data set, like you said, you know, it's not suited for that. But maybe before the end of this session, I'll just try to see
All right. All right. You can
how
proceed.
does.
I'm not wasting. Thanks a lot.
Okay, that's fine. So I'm just gonna do a new measure. So in this measure, I'm gonna call this T calculate 3, and I'm gonna call this calculate revenue, and I'm gonna call this keep filters. I'm gonna keep the filters, change the calculate and calculate table function, filtering symmetric. So yeah, I'm gonna keep the filters for line of business is equal to parts. Gonna close this. So let's see what this returns. So I'm gonna tick on this. Yes, so going back to this expression. So yeah, you can use this to sort of do um what all except to do. But you know what we are going to do? You know what we are going to do? We are going to equally going to ask we are going to ask Power BI when we have issues which I plan to do later on. We're going to ask Power BI when we have issues with some measure, it should suggest a measure for us to do to solve those problems. Why don't we do that? So we were trying to think of when we can use all except. Why don't we just use a suggested? Let's ask Power BI. Okay, we want to use all except. Okay. Okay, it's telling me to sign in, but I'm signed in. Let's see. So it does this sometimes. Okay, I may just have to close my Power BI and open it again. So this is a recent release from Power BI. We have quick measures. So under this suggestion with Copilot, so Copilot is like ChatGPT basically, but you have it in Power BI, and this part of the things we're going to show. And thanks to Mayowa for his question, we're going to use Copilot to
Please,
help us with
please,
our issue.
Joseph. Yeah, Joseph. Please, before closing, remember to save your work,
I'll
or is it
save it.
on automatic? All
I'll
right.
save it. Yeah. Yeah, it's on auto save for 1 minute. I normally used to do that for mine, but
Okay,
I'm
that's
going to
cool.
I'm going to do that. So I'm going to click here. Okay, I'll just quickly close it. Sometimes it does this, but it's fine. When I reopen it, I would hopefully it should. So I'll just set for Power BI. So I'm just going to use the previous file. Yeah, this file. So this file, I'm going to, under the measures table, I'm just going to do new quick measures. So quick measures are good if you want Power BI to just give you to write some measures for you. But the good thing about quick measures is they've released a new update to it called suggested measures. So suggestion with Copilot. So I know a lot of us on this call, we've used ChatGPT, we use Bad AI, we've used Binge AI or all the AI tools out there. So AI is quite good. AI is not here to take your job, but AI is here to make your job more effective, right? So sometimes you may not necessarily remember all those things in your head. You have a lot of calculation, you have a lot of formulas in your head. I wouldn't even advise you to cram formulas. What you need to know is the syntax, right? To understand how syntax works, and that will help you to solve your issues. But you can leverage on AI when you're facing some probably difficulties remembering some things, or when you need help with some measures which you know the output you're looking for, but you don't know how to get there. Then just keep it like that. So that's how your quick measures can help you to do. And under it, we have suggested measures. So some of you may not have this feature done, but I think I think it's now out for public release. But before, I think you had to come to file, you have to come to options and settings, so you can confirm from your Power BI if you have it now. So under your options and settings, if you click on preview features, I think there's a place to turn it on somewhere here. Okay, quick measure suggestion. So you have to turn this quick measure suggestion on. But I think it's probably out for the general public now. But if it's not out now, you can come to your options. Under your global options, you have global and current file. What current file means is, oh, it's just going to affect this. It's just going to affect this file. But your global option means what, no matter the Power BI you open, it will affect the Power BI you open. So not just this file. So if you turn on this quick measure feature suggestion, it will ask you to close your close your Power BI so that it will show. Once you close it, you will have it. So yeah, so I'm just showing how you can get it for if it's not out for public, for the general public now. So in this scenario, we want to see using all except. So what is the best language we can use to describe the use case scenario for all except? Okay, let me just say I want to calculate the revenue calculate all the, let me try to lead it to the answer, the revenue except from parts. So while typing it, give me some suggestion. I can click on this and I'll just click on generate. So let's see suggested measures in action. So it's giving me this. Okay, it choose my key filters measure which it believes it should be better for it. It choose my key filters which I used. But the output of this measure is quite funny. I'm having a huge result. So one thing you need to notice when you're using AI, you have to have some experience with the tool. Okay, you have to have some experience with the tool that you're using before you go ahead to trust the AI completely, because if you don't, you won't be sure of what the output you are getting. So in this case now, it's actually correct. What it did is getting the total revenue where the line of business is not part. So it's excluding where the line of business is not part. Well, me, I was saying is part. So so it maybe it chose I want to calculate all the revenue except from parts. Okay, it was my English. I said except from parts, which that means this measure is correct. So it's giving me all the revenue except from parts. But I really wanted it to give me an all except measure. But once I get this measure done, I can just click on add. If I like it, I can add it, and it adds it to my measures tab. I'll just call this C underscore suggested measures. Suggested measures, not parts. Right. So I'll just call it like this. So with this, I can even modify the DAX syntax before I click on commit. So I can do that here. So remember, like I said before, you can use keep. So I think Power BI agrees with me that you can use keep filters to sort of do what you wanted to do with all except. But I wanted to calculate. Let me just be more specific. Using the all except, see if it will give me that expression for the revenue for parts. So let's see. It's still going with key filters. Okay. Okay, it's good. So like you said, maybe data set as well, but we'll try to look into that as well. But maybe the data set, like you said, but we would look a bit more into that. But like I said, you can do if you want to see the revenue all except a particular a particular row or column, you could use the key filters measures. And what it does is, so where's the T suggested measures? So I'm just going to click on this T suggested measures that was created to us by DAX. by let me say it again. Oh, sorry, I clicked on the wrong one. See the key filters. No, did I save it? I just want to confirm I saved it. I didn't save it. Okay, I can redo it again, but so that's how you use suggested measures. So thanks to our friend here, we were able to test out suggested measures. Uh, so that's how you can use suggested measures in your calculation. So I can just let me add this. I just call this T underscore suggested measures, right? Okay, so yeah, we've covered that page of suggested measures. So since we're on suggested measures, let's talk about quick measures. So what are quick measures? So remember, suggested measures is you using a powerful engine, a powerful AI engine with like ChatGPT, but this is in Power BI, which is suggestion with Copilot. They use the same open AI framework. You using suggestion measures. That's how it works. Suggestion with Copilot. But in Power BI, we've had quick measures before. We've had quick measures since before the inception um, of the GPT and the AI range started coming up. We have calculations under quick measures. So in Power BI, if you click on the calculations to select a calculation, we have average per category, we have variance per category, we have max per category, we have filters, we can see filters as well. We have time intelligence. I will talk about normal time intelligence before we dive into using it with quick measures. So right now I'm just going to do a simple average by category with quick measures. I click on average by category. It asks me to add a base value. So a base value is a value which you can sum up, a numerical value which you can sum up. I click on add data, and under the measures, I'll just click on revenue. And the next thing is it asks me for a category. So I just want to sub revenue by probably line of business. So that's what I want to see. And I'll just click on add. And the moment I do add, it creates this DAX expression for me. Average X, keep filters for the value of line of business and return the calculate of the revenue. This is not how I would have normally written the expression to get the line of business, but you can see how quick measures DAX, you can use DAX itself to help you to write some measures. But it's important to note you should understand DAX a bit before you use quick measures, because assuming if I did not understand the output of this expression, which what is doing is keeping filters for the values of the line of business and is calculating the revenue. If I didn't understand this, I will just take the word of this calculation to be true. I'll just say, oh, this calculation, okay, since DAX is the one that did it itself, it's true. And it's not like DAX is wrong, but it may not be the appropriate calculation for the particular calculation I want to do. So remember, the good thing about DAX is it allows you to express yourself. So even as much as you can use the computer to help you express yourself, you can use is good as much as possible to try to express yourself by yourself. So this is using quick measures. There are more quick measures we can use. Hope my audience are still with me. Are my audience still with me, Samson?
Yes, we are still with you.
Yes, we are still with you, Joseph. Right on.
Okay. Okay. So we have this quick measures quickly created for the average power value. So right now, I'm being cautious of time. I'm going to talk on time intelligence, functions, and I don't know if Samson would like to come up for the variances, but we'll see as to that. So I'm going to come to time intelligence functions. So what are time intelligence expression? So I'm going to let me just create a new page. I'm going to create a new page. Uh, let me just, I mistakenly created more than I should. Let me see how many audience. Oh, we have a lot of class audience today. Okay, so I'm going to create a new measure for, I'm going to create a new measure, but before I create a new measure, let me explain what time intelligence is, right? So I'm sure you've created reports, you've created visualization, you created some calculation and stuff, and maybe your boss, your management asks you, okay, how did we do last year? Okay, so what is our revenue year to date? Okay, revenue could we have made how much revenue did we make in the previous year? How much revenue did we make in the previous month? In the previous months, and all the time your boss keeps on asking that you keep on probably bringing on a slicer. You bring one slicer in, you bring another slicer in. You now have to be slicing. By the time you do your report, you have slicers in, right? And your boss now asks you, okay, how much? What's the variance between our yearly revenue? What's the variance in our yearly revenue from last year to this year? What's the variance in this our revenue? So you now have that question. You now think, okay, how can I solve that question? That's using stuff called time intelligence calculations. So we have different time intelligence calculation. We have time intelligence calculation for previous month, previous year, year to date, last year as well as last month. As we have those time intelligence functions created. So I'm just going to come here, click on this. Yes, I'm watching my time as well. So I'm going to create a new measure, and I'm going to call this time underscore intel, and I'll call this. Okay, so it's good to give it a name or a good name that we want to use this. So for the first question, I want to get our revenue last year. Um, our revenue last year. So I want to get this measure. So I'm going to call this revenue, and I'll call this underscore last year, and I'll do equals to, come here, and I'll call this calculate. So remember, I said calculate is like the engine block for your time intelligence expression. So you want to see the revenue last year. So remember, what calculate asks you for is a revenue. The time intelligence come in the filter aspect. You want to filter this revenue by a particular date or time period. So that's what the filter part of it comes to. I'll just do shift enter, and I'll call this revenue, comma. Then to get our revenue last year, we have different ways we can get this revenue last year. I will explain two key ways of getting our revenue last year, and we have something different which called same period last year, which I will explain as well. So we can use either previous year. I hit tab. What previous year asks for is a date, right? You just have to specify a date a date value. So I'm just going to call this date, and I'll do dot year because I want to previous year. I will close my bracket. So this gives rev last year. So this is one way we can do this. Let me just tick on. So I'm getting cancel this visual. Okay, someone said they lost. Okay, so I get this. So okay, so I said they lost. Okay, just to do a brief recap. So I'm guessing maybe your network threw you out a bit. So what we've been doing is we moved from the logical aspect where we did divide. We used divide to try to get so we try to see what will happen if we divide a number by 0. We saw we get a blank if we use the normal divide function. We use the logical expression to get the divide. Then we now moved on further to is blank and all the other logical expression we could do. Then we moved on to calculate. And I said calculate is a very powerful expression. So what calculate can help you to do is if you want to see a filter based on your particular measure, let's say now you have your revenue, your all-time revenue, and you want to see, oh, how much did parts make? How much did a particular row make? How much did a particular line of business make? How much did a particular customer make? Or what was the revenue at a particular time period or date? That's what calculate can help you to do, right? And right now we've first touched the initial part of calculate and calculate modifiers. The calculate modifiers, we have the all, we have the keep filters, and we have the remove filters, which I showed. There was the all except, which wasn't exactly working as the way we should for this demo, but we also showed the use of suggested measures and key and quick measures with DAX. So that's just a bit of recap. I'm sure when you get the recording, maybe a lot more, you would see the steps in which we got to achieve this as well. So yeah, that's just a bit of recap on it. So back to this revenue last year, we have this using the previous year function to get hello. Okay, to get our revenue last year, and we are going to do another one to get this same revenue last year. I call this rev underscore I'll call this py, and I'm going to use this as calculate, and I'll call this rev calculate rev. So remember, the first part aspect of our calculate requires an expression. An expression is a measure you've calculated before. It could be a summation you've done before, a count you've done before, a simple measure you've done before, a sum, a count you've done before. So that's your expression.
Sorry, Joseph, for cutting you. You made one statement about that kind of measure. Is it anchor? Because I want to be very sure of the spelling. Anchor or something. You said there must be an anchor measure.
Yeah, so anchor,
Correct.
I use anchor, I use the word anchor. So anchor means like a building block, what's the English term? For those that are very good in English, we'll be able to explain what anchor means. But okay, just know if the English term is probably confusing, just know that it requires an expression which you've created before. I think that's
Okay.
that's a
All right. Thank
simpler
you.
method. Yeah. So I'm going to say calculate rev. And for this, I'm going to, before we use the previous the previous year function, to get the revenue last year. And I'm going to, for this one, I'm going to use dates add. So the date add function helps us to get a it helps us do a filter on the date based on either if we want to add a particular point in time, if we want to add a date, if we want to subtract a date, we can use the date add function. So what I just need to do for this date add is specify a dates column. Just called dates. Okay, yes, I'm checking my time as well. So I'll use dates. Okay, I should have been using the calendar dates, but I was using that my new measure date. But I hope that shouldn't be an issue though. I'll just do -1. So for the number of intervals, I'm going back one time, 1 year in time. So I'm using -1. If I want to go ahead of time, that I'll be using a plus. So the date add function asks for the dates, the number of intervals, and it now asks for the interval. The interval now could be year, could be months, it could be dates, it could be quarter. So we have this, and we have this, then we close this. And I commit. You can see both ways give us the same. Okay, well, okay. It said if you use a plus, doesn't mean you're predicting. You're not necessarily predicting per se, because I know what you can actually do forecasting in Power BI, but that's using a line chart. I know, but using a plus means that based on the selected year that we have, it will be getting the revenue for the year above that. Let me sort of explain what I mean. So I'm just going to come to date table. So which date did I use? I think I used the calendar dates. So yeah, I'm checking my time as well. So yeah. So I'm gonna click on the months. I'll click here. I'll change this to a metric visual. So what the plus we do instead of the minus is that if let's say I select 2015, right, it will give me the revenue for 2016. That's what the plus will basically do. But for the minus, so let me change it back to a card. And I'm going to just tick on the normal revenue. I'll bring a slicer. So we have these 3 measures. And I'm just going to bring a slicer for year. I'll change this to slicer. So I'm going to select 2015. Yeah. Okay, we don't have 2017. So we have this. Let me just bring this as a normal table visual. So I'm taking my time just to be sure we finish on time. I'm going to come here, change this to a metric visual. So we have 2015 and 2019. Let me just change the orientation to months. So this is the visual. So this is the revenue. So if you want to see how much we made last year, so that's what revenue last year does. We can do revenue last month to see how much revenue we made in the previous month, but in the previous month as well. So we can compare that. That gives us more statistics. So I'm just going to do a new measure, and I'll quickly call this revenue previous month. Now do equals to calculate revenue, and I'll call this previous. I'll use previous for this previous month. And I'll need to specify a date. So I'll just use calendar dates. Okay. I'm just going to click on this revenue previous month. So it's showing blank until probably a month has been selected. I can just change this to metric visual. And I'll quickly scroll down and select a month and a year. I'll select a year, select a month. Change this to a metric visual. Just arrange it a bit. Okay. Let me deselect. Do I have a slicer on? Okay, so we have this. So this shows me, and I'll compare this with our normal revenue. So for February, for revenue previous months, we get the revenue of January. For March, we get the revenue of March for the revenue previous month.
Zoom out.
Okay. I should zoom out or I should zoom in, which shot? Okay. Can you see this? Okay. So what I was saying is for January, for February, we get the revenue of January. For March, we get the revenue for February. So it's good for, and this will form core part of our variance calculation. So it's good if you want to see, okay, how much did we do last month, last year? So that sort of helps you for that analysis. And the good thing about having all these time intelligent measures, so normally in your visualization, I normally see a lot of people keep a single card visual, but a single card visual doesn't really tell much of stories. So if we look at these are nicely done dashboard, which I believe, well, I think is nicely done as per se. But if I scroll down, let me just scroll to the right a bit. We can see these card visuals which are showing some comparison. You may not exactly notice it, but it's showing some comparison comparison. Yeah, I know I'm cautious of time. I'm just wrapping up a bit. So it's showing some comparison, right? And how did we create this card visual? By using a custom visual known as Zebra VI visuals. So Zebra VI visuals are quite good. They tell more stories when you want um, to show a single metric. So let me just drop this. So yeah, I'm just being a bit cautious of time. Okay, so we have this Zebra VI visual. So if in this visual I just select, but it is good to know that it requires licensing as well. But there's the free trial. You can actually do a free trial. You have some access to the free part of the Zebra VI visual. But if I click on revenue and I click on revenue probably last year or last month, last year, it gives me the comparison of how we did versus the last year. So we have a percentage increase. We have it shows if there's an increase or there's a decrease from a particular period. I can just bring a slicer for maybe a year. So after that, we'll call it Samson will just quickly run us through on the variance, and I think we'll call it a day. I'll just bring in a slicer for the year. And if I select the year, let's say 2015, okay, so previous year measure was probably not done too correctly. Oh, that could be adjusted. So let me deselect this previous. Where's this previous year I'm using? Okay, let me click on this visual. Just use one of the previous ones which I created before. Um, okay, 2015 is blank. So this Zebra BI visual shows us a comparison of how we did as against last year, last month. So it's quite good if you have a time intelligence comparison. So instead of just doing a bland, boring card visual, you can use a Zebra BI visual, which will help you to tell your story more and make it more insightful and interesting. So before I round up, so all these visuals we have like this stacked up like this, we can keep all of them in a display folder, so it will be nice and neat by just holding Control key, selecting the visuals you want. Just select all of them. I'll just hold this. Select all the visuals you want. Then I'll click on display folder and I'll call this basic. Let me just call this basic measures. Come to my report view and all my measures are arranged in a single folder I can reference. Though ideally you won't keep all of them in the same folder. You may keep those for calculating time in a separate folder and those for calculating this other stuff in a separate folder. It's just so that if anybody is auditing your visual, your measures as well, if you are collaborating with somebody, yes, there's a new collaborate features with Power BI. So now you can collaborate. If you go to your file, options and settings, under option is part of the preview features release. You can collaborate under preview features, you can collaborate with your colleagues. So save OneDrive and SharePoint. So before I clicked on this, when I clicked on this, I clicked on learn more and I saw something interesting. So work seamlessly in Power BI Desktop with the ability to open, save, and share files to OneDrive for Business and SharePoint. These new capabilities helps authors while file versioning, collaborating with other authors, and ensuring a backup file is always available in the cloud. So this feature was released in 16th. Well, it was talked about it the 16th of May 2023. So you can collaborate with your colleagues. So don't let them be confused on what on the measures that you have there. So let it be arranged nice and neatly. So yeah, so a lot have been said. So please try to watch the recording for some recap on the measures used. So for time intelligence, maybe Samson may even come when he's talking on his variances, he may talk a bit more on those as well. But for time intelligent measures, you can use the date add, you can use previous. We have previous year, previous month, previous quarter. We have those measures which we can use in conjunction with our calculate expression. So thank you for your time. Over to you, Samson. Hello.
All
Hello,
right. Hi.
Samson.
Yeah. Hi, Joseph. Oh, our time is fast spent. Probably I'll just because we promised to close on time today, and I guess we just have 12 or 11 minutes to close. Right. So let me just quickly share my screen and see what we can catch up with before we call it a day. So please confirm if you can see my screen. Yeah. Can you as well hear me in real time?
I can hear you, Samson. So
Yeah,
this was
can you hear you?
Yes,
Okay,
can
great.
hear you.
All right. Thank you, Joseph. That was a great one. Given that we have just not more than 10 minutes to go. So let me just quickly say, chip in one or two things. Yeah, maybe sometime in future I would deep dive into what I would have, taken us today because our time is fast spent and I don't want to keep us um past six on this call. All right, so Joseph did mention the time intelligence and formula, which he has taken us through. But one thing I just need us to get is that there are some core the time intelligence and formula just part of the core DAX formula. When we talk about core DAX formula, we are looking at the anchor formulas, we are looking at the time intelligence formulas, as well as the variance formula. These are the core DAX formula. As a data analyst, like there's no how you do your analysis without bringing this thing into place for you to gain that much needed insight from your data. Talking about the core DAX formulas, right? You are looking at the sum, right? We have the metric that sums and the one that's which counts. Let's say your transaction counts. Now, you would want to know, okay, let's
Sorry
say,
for cutting you, Samson. Sorry for cutting you. I can't see your screen. I can only see Joseph's screen.
my screen
just
is not sharing. Samson is on Teams, so that's why
okay.
it's
Can you
showing.
see the measure now, right? Sorry,
Yes, yes. All
I
right.
was carried away.
Thank you.
Sorry. Thank you for that. Let me share my Power BI. So I just need to put one or two explanation, then I will just dive into the variance formula within the next 5 minutes. So I was saying that the anchor formulas are just like a building block for which other DAX formulas rely on to drive meaning. You can't write your time intelligence formula without your anchor formula. And for your anchor formula, we have that is we'll be looking at the metric that sums, right? And the count metric. And talk about the count metric, you are looking at transaction count. Let's say you need to know the total transaction within a specific period of time, maybe from January or during weekend, depending on your analysis. Maybe you need to know the total transaction that was carried out on a public holiday, to understand what really went on in order to, further come up with maybe other decision that will help, increase or boost your revenue over time, right? And we equally have the anchor formula that sums when you talk about sums, right? Now, for you to write your time intelligence and variance, you need these two anchor measures, because you definitely make reference to them, as Joseph did mention. For us to write our DAX time, or is it time? Yeah, variance formula. Our variance formula, we also need our time intelligence formula. Like, let's say last month, last year, year to date, month to date, and the likes. So let me just let me just create this, and let's quickly try writing a DAX, right? So here, let me bring in a table. Recall that if you want to write your DAX, it's most good that you have a table where all your DAX are written, right? So that you'll be able to make reference to them easily. So I will just call this. Let me just call this. Let me just say DAX. Just call this DAX table, right? So I'll load, and let's just write. I'll just use one as an instance. I'll just use one as an instance, and we can use that to replicate for last year, quarter to year to date, and the likes.
Sorry,
So,
Samson. Sorry, Samson. Please, you said anchor formula. Please, can you spell
yes.
the word anchor? I
Hello?
don't really get it. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, you're saying something about anchor. I can't really capture the
Okay.
right and what's the spelling?
Anchor, ANCHOR, anchor formula.
Okay, anchor formulas. Okay, all right,
Yes,
thank you.
yes. Just like the need, something that all that thing depend on to drive meaning, anchoring or something, depending on something. So just to put simply, you have the revenue sum and the transaction count. So we've created this table, and let's just right click to create a new measure. We'll create one anchor formula, we'll create one time intelligence formula, so as to be able to create our variance, percentage variance, right? So what happened? Sorry, new measure. So we need to create a new measure. Is this still loading? Okay, let me zoom on. Okay, control plus. Okay, so can you see my screen now clearly? So what went wrong? Cancel. Okay, so let's write dark simple. I will just say revenue sum. Let's create our anchor formula, revenue sum. So we say it equals to what? Sum, right? Use our down arrow key to pick that. Somewhat. What do we want to sum? Tab. What do we want to sum? Want to sum our revenue. So, and our revenues are fact sales, right? Our fat file. So pick that, and you close our bracket, right? Click OK. So this just an anchor formula. Now, if we need to calculate our time intelligence formula, which we all know that every report must, must have a date, for that report to make sense, right? Every report must have date. Now, if we need to calculate, let's say revenue sum last month, right? Revenue sum last month. I know Joseph did mention something with regards to that, but I just need to create one so that we can use that to achieve what we want to create here, right? So say okay. Okay, it's telling me that I already have a measure called anchor formulas revenue sum, sorry. So let me just say revenue sum 1, right? So this should work. Sorry, just a minute. Just trying to rush through this so that we get that. Just a minute. Okay, so let's go ahead to create a time intelligence formula. Let's do a calculation for last month, right? LM revenue sum last month. I say ref sum, right? Trying to make this descriptive enough. LM, so right, so revenue sum last month, I would say 2, so as to differentiate it from the other revenue sum that I have. So what we need here, we say equals to, now calculate the powerful function is what we are going to call here. Calculate, use our tab to pick that, right? Calculate, and pardon me because I won't bother explaining. I know Joseph have done justice to providing explanation with regards to the calculate functions. And since we say calculate, we need to calculate previous months, right? We want in a situation where if we are in June, if we are filtering June, right, we want to be seeing record for, let's say we are filtering July, we want to be seeing record for June and the likes. If you are in June, we want to see record for May. So what we need to call in here, having said calculate, we'll bring in our anchor formula. So rev sum 2. Here's our rev sum 2. So we need to bring in our anchor formula.
We used ref sum 1.
Okay, ref sum 1, thank you. So ref sum 1, right? So what we need to do at this point, we can see we've put in our expression. So what we need to do currently is to put a comma, right? Because we are looking at previous period, so it's very descriptive. You just need to put whatever you want to solve in a simple sentence and you are fine. So we say previous month, right? Previous. Why is this thing just behaving this way? Previous. So if I just write pre and I could see previous day. So you can basically do for previous day, calculation for previous day, previous month, previous quarter, as well as previous year. So I'll just pick previous month, right? And we just picked previous month. Now we need to bring in our dates. See, at the top, I'm currently looking at the description which Power BI is giving me, right? Say previous months, and here I could see my date. So I need to call up my date table, right? Why is this thing behaving this way? So I'll say dates, my day calendar, right? These are the calendar dates. Bring in our D calendar date and we'll close that. I just brought in that I close, you close with double bracket because we have 2, 1, and 2 open bracket here. So we just close and click enter, right? So with this now, revenue sum, with this now, right, we can now create our percentage variance for maybe last month, right? So what we need to do at this point, let me say, okay, save this. And let's quickly create a percentage variance for month-on-month percentage variance, right? and we'll see that in a chart shortly. So we've created our revenue sum last month. See how these formulas are dependent on each other, and let's create our percentage month to month variance. So I'll right click, write new measure. Having created these two formulas, we can now, that is our anchor formula and time intelligent, we can now create our percentage variance. So for percentage variance, we say let me just say percentage var, okay, let me say month on month, percentage var, let me just say 2, right? I'm just putting the 2 in order to differentiate the naming from the previous one that I have. Yeah, so what do we need at this point? Now, we need to calculate percentage variance. There are many ways that people can do this, but there's one common way that I normally use, right, to get this. So we'll use this logical function. I know that Joseph had explained all those to us, the if, the and, the or, and the likes, right? So, and he explained the difference between and or, right? When you say and, it means like you having one thing and like what for you to get the results, the two conditions must be met, right? For you to get the expected results. So we'll be using this logical function if and the function and to get our, or to write our month-on-month percentage variance. And for that, I'll just say if, let's say if, upper brackets, right, logical test, right, say true, then false, which is alternative, then we'll say and up, right? So it's asking us, say check whether and all arguments are true or ignore that. Now, want to calculate a month-on-month percentage change, right, of our revenue. What we need to call at this point, we need to call on our anchor formula, which is our revenue rev sum 2, right? So I'll use my down arrow key to navigate. See, I'm navigating, so down arrow key, I'll use my tab to pick that, use the tab to pick that, and let me zoom so that, yeah, use the tab to pick that. So we've picked in our revenue sum. Next thing we need to bring in is our revenue sum last month, which we already calculated, right? So here we'll say comma, that is, we've entered the first logic, and the second one, we just need to enter that and say comma, revs sum last month. Revenue sum last month, which is rev sum last month. Is it? Currently looking for our revenue sum last month. Okay, let me see rev sum. Okay, now sorry, just a minute. I can't find our revenue sum. What did you call it? Rev sum LM. Okay, this is it.
What of the LM?
Yeah. So I couldn't see it because I zoomed out then. All right, so having done that, what do we do at this point? You see this expression here. Logic 2, after logic 2 is asking for a close bracket. So I'll close that, and we need a comma, right? We need a comma. Then let's enter the second. Now we are going to say rev and this one, we're going to repeat same thing again. We're going to say rev sum, revenue sum, here is it, revenue sum 1, right? I use my tab to pick that. Then use the divide by rev sum ref sum last month, right? Ref sum last month, where is it?
Second.
Yeah, ref sum last month too. Then we pick, right? Then what we do? We subtract 1. Is that? I don't know. Are we correct? Okay, we subtract 1, right? And we close the bracket. Let me take that out and okay, close the bracket. And if we say enter, let's see. Let's see. So if you need to calculate, let's say month on month, I mean year to date or last year, you need to calculate the time intelligence for maybe you need to do last year, then percentage change year on year. You still need to follow this syntax. The only thing is just that you change this. This will change from last month to last year, right? This last month that we have here, it should be last year. So you will need to create a time intelligence formula looking at last year, following how we created this revenue sum, this time intelligence for last month. That is it basically. So let's view this now. Let's view this now, and let me bring in that. So let me bring, sorry, let me bring in, let's bring in our month, right? And let's bring in, is not what I want. Okay, you see what we have here. So this is how we can possibly get this, right? So with this now, you can, replicate same thing for your month on month percentage change, year on year percentage change, year to date. We equally have year to date. We equally have for the transaction count. So same things apply for the transaction count, right? And that is it for our core DAX formula. The anchor, I quickly run us through the anchor, time intelligence, and variance. I know that Joseph had dwelled more on time intelligence as well as the anchor, but you can't write your variance formula without your anchor and time intelligence formula. So we just need to bear that in mind, right? So for writing dynamic, we have this dashboard, right? I know what is going on? Okay, this thing is not responding now. So we have this, right? I don't know if we still care. Oh, shit, our time is fast spent. Our time is fast spent. So, but let me just quickly show us what I did here to get a dynamic title. Probably you want a situation whereby someone click on a slicer, right? The title, you want that dashboard to have a description, showing, making things seamless for the person to understand, right? Probably the person might be like, okay, I didn't click on any slicer, and what is really going on here, right? What is really going on? So looking at the title, the person will know, oh, this is Northeast transaction record. Then he or she can look for the slicer to uncheck that, right? So how did we achieve this? How did we achieve this? We achieved this via a simple select with something called select value, right? Selected value. So to achieve that, let me just quickly chip in that and why we call it a day, right? To achieve that, let me say new measure, just loading. Okay, and we'll say dynamic title. Let me say dynamic title. Okay, let me say D underscore title. So the D stands for dynamic, right? I say equals to selected. Now we see selected column, selected measure, selected value. So I use my down arrow key to pick that. Okay, so if we want, let's say for instance, okay, we already have our region. I wouldn't want to do the region, right? Let me say, can we say line of business, right? Line of business. If we select a line of business, so I will say LOB. So pick this and I'll close that, right? Use the and sign. You use the and sign, right, to add, to concatenate. For us to concatenate, we use the and sign, right? And we'll say, let me say space, then close quote, then and so what we do here, open quotes, and we say, let's say record. Let me just say record and quickly type in something there and say okay, right? So selected value, line of business is a table, and we have column containing the line of business, the different line of business. That is LOB is a table containing the different line of business. And we say, okay, let's see how this works. Let's see how this works quickly. Work. Let's see how this works. So for us to, okay, just a minute. Okay, let me bring and just bring in this.
Please, sir,
So
can I see the expression again? I beg, the measure we just did now for the
okay,
title.
this is it.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry, just trying to rush. Okay, so say selected value, right? Then you pick your table and the column that you want to use as your slicer, right? Now we don't have our line of business as slicer currently, but I don't want to use the region. This not central, not east, because we already have that, right? I can decide to, but I don't want. I just want to use a line of business, and I will bring in the slicer and I will see how that works in a different way, right? So it just said selected value. I reference the table and the column, right? And I just did a concatenation here. A record, I just transaction record or just record, said line of business, what is it called, printer sales record, something like that. So let me escape this and let's see. Currently we have this record showing, right? But let me just keep this way. So if we bring our line of business as a slicer, let's bring our line of business as a slicer, LOB, and let me change that. Just a minute, and we'll say this, right? Now, if I should select this, watch what happens. Parts record. Do you see that? So in your own case, you might decide to do a whole lot of crazy things, using this. It's just a simple stuff, but most people don't know about it. And most people use this selected value for some other thing, but yeah, but they don't know about this. And for the dynamic and what is it called? Dynamic background, right? Why this changes? You can decide. There's another formula that I use. There's another formula that I use, and it's captured in the file that I sent to you guys. So you can decide to go through that. I wouldn't want to take our time. You can decide to go through, just study how that works, right? And peradventure, you have any challenge, you can always reach out to me via LinkedIn, right, or send an email, and I'll be willing to assist, right? And that is it. So currently, if you click printer sales, it shows printer sales record, right? Service plan as well, same thing, and the whole report update. So yeah, and that is that. For the dynamic title, you can also do your dynamic background and the likes. So, and yeah, I guess that is it. Any question? Any question with regards to what Joseph did or what I just demoed for us?
Um, please, thank you for today's class. I really appreciate your time and the insights you all gave us. Can you hear me very well?
Yes, please.
Please, this report of the dashboard, you like, is there a way we can get it? Hello, can you hear me? Hello, something.
Yes, I can hear you. I think Samsung's having some
Okay,
network. Okay, Samsung, are
I
you here?
did share it with everyone for the session.
You said what?
Yeah, I was saying so it's a challenge. I've shared it with each and every one of us. So I even
Yeah.
shared
Please,
it
was
for
it
the
through our email? Was it through our email?
through the email, through your email. I sent it
Oh, okay.
as an
Okay.
attachment.
Is it the
Yes.
demo
So,
file?
yeah.
Is it the demo
Yes,
file?
demo.
Abi,
Yes, please.
oh, all right. All right. That's good. Thanks a lot. And aside
Yeah,
that,
and if
please, I would
you
like,
have
uh, aside that, please, I would like to, yeah, the gift you promised us yesterday, the guide and I think PDF and all. You said they should
okay,
fill some form, but that was when my phone died. So I
okay.
couldn't.
I will definitely send it. I will definitely send
No,
it
that will be
today.
shared.
Yeah,
Okay. Has it been
I
shared?
will send it.
No,
No,
that
no,
will
no.
be shared.
I
That will
will
be
do
shared.
that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Nice. So you can, for you to refresh this report, once you've download the report, right? If you refresh, let's say you need to go to Power Query and to see the data, you are likely not to see anything. Like you might just see everything in short. You won't see anything, right? Until you reconnect the data source. So, and I believe that we all know how to reconnect data source, right? What I shared was an
You
Excel
can
file. So you go to on Excel, you go
data
to
source.
file. You said,
Okay, I want to say you can quickly share them. So
okay, let me just quickly show us that. For those of us, this transaction data, this was the data that I shared with us. So for you to okay, this the data source, right? So you would need to get the parts, right? What you need to do, I'm lazy, I don't want to go through the normal route. I'll just come here. You go to file on Excel, open the Excel, go to info, and you see copy parts, copy local parts. What you click is copy local parts. Just click on that and it's copied. It might not show you any sign, but once you click on copy local parts, that has been copied. So you go to your Power BI to change the data source of this. You go to your Power BI, you see transform under your home, you see transform data. Transform data, you click on data source. For you to navigate to Power Query, you click on transform data, but want to change our data source, you click data source and you see here, change source. Click that. Once you click that and this is it, I will just delete this and paste what I just copied. Say okay and close. Right? It's telling me apply change because it noticed something has gone wrong, something has happened, and this is it. So currently that has affected. So if you come to transform data, you'll be able to see the data. But previously, if we hadn't changed, let's say this wasn't connected, for you, you will encounter that challenge. When you come to Power Query, all this stuff will show error. What you have here will just be error. Like you see a whole lot of errors. And if you try refreshing, it won't work. What you need to do is to go and change the data source, like to reconnect the data source, right, with the report. And that's on how to change data source. So, all right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
Before
Very
you
sorry
go, I
for the
think
delay.
someone's hand is
Okay,
up, so we
please
just
go ahead.
quickly take.
Go ahead, please.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the session. I've been have opportunity of working with Power BI, and that has actually been a big challenge for me. But with this
Oh,
section yesterday and today, I think a lot of things has been cleared. I appreciate that so much. But I want to ask if
thank
there's any material where I can always reference for all these
Mhm.
eight that same time last year, all these previous year, any material I can always reference when I'm doing any calculate function
Okay,
work.
I will share that. I will definitely share something with regards to that. That is called an anchor formula. I'm going to share other stuff, other material, but let me just quickly share something. I don't know if you've seen this for some other formula that Joseph did talk about. I think I have something with regards to that. Just a minute. Sorry for taking your time. Just a minute. Let me just. Okay. So here we have. This is just like 22 powerful DAX, an article which I shared on LinkedIn some time ago, right? This is the calculate, and it only give you the syntax and give a brief explanation, right? Looking at this, you can easily replicate a number of things that Joseph have done over time, right? Though not all. So I'll share this as well as Excel file and a
And a
and the
PDF.
documents
Yeah.
contain a PDF containing the anchor time intelligence on, like, the PDF will contain how to write, the revenue sum last year, revenue sum last month, transaction count and the like, revenue sum year to date, revenue sum year to date last year, as well as transaction counts year to date last year. We equally have the year on year variance, month on month variance, and year to date, year on year percentage variance. So all those will be shared after this call. But please expect that if not this evening, because of the recording, I will need to, put the recording in order. I will definitely share that either this night or tomorrow morning, but latest tomorrow morning.
Okay,
Hello, sir.
please, will the materials be shared through via email?
Yes, everything. I'll put everything together via email, right?
Hello, sir.
So
Oh,
Hello, sir.
and for those of us who haven't seen this, let me just put this on chat so you can just check that out as well. Okay, someone
okay.
is raising.
Hello, sir.
Yes, please. Go ahead.
I'm sorry to ask this question. At least as for Power BI, at least to get the A to Z information about Power BI, is there syllabus or
Hello, please.
as in getting the full details of Power BI? Is there a
Okay, the food.
syllabus details as in regard the uses, how to, so that at least one can be moving from one topic to another topic as
Okay.
such. Did you get me?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry for cutting you, Joseph. Like, I started learning Power BI a few months ago, and recently I've been able to detail some materials. But maybe in 1 month time, I will compile everything together. But I would advise you to go to YouTube and download 8 hours video by Pavan Lawani. And I think there's a way you can save
8 hour
videos
videos by
from
who?
YouTube. Pavan Lawani. Let me spell it. Pavan. Are you with your pen?
P-A-V-A-N.
P
Okay.
A P P P.
P-A.
Yeah. P
Okay, you
for
can drop the
pot.
spelling on the
P
chat.
A. No, I'm using my phone. Sorry. Like, and I have not been seeing
P-A-N.
the chat. P-A-N,
Okay.
P-A-V-A-n, then
V-A-N.
Lawani. Let
Okay.
me spell it from the beginning. Pavan, then Lawani. Pavan Lawani. He's a slim guy. He's an Indian. It's
Okay.
a 8 hours YouTube video. Like, he shared the data set that was the files that was used throughout the 8 hours. Like, he sectioned everything from A to Z, from Power Query, DAX, and okay, I think you need
Thank
to
you.
check his playlist for DAX too. It's very resourceful.
Yeah.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Okay. Okay. So thanks for that. My what? So in addition to that, so Microsoft themselves also give free learning resources via something called Microsoft Learn. So on Microsoft Learn, they have a step-by-step module on how you can be a, should I say, Power BI analyst. So that's covered in the parts, the learning part for Power BI or Microsoft
Okay.
Learn. You can want to check that. You may want to check that out. So like you said, you mentioned Harvard. So yeah, I know the guy you mentioned. There are also other good YouTubers who talk about Power BI out there. So you may just want to check out for their content. But we ourselves, like the Eastern Power Platform community, Samson does a lot on Power BI too. On Power BI too. So you could also want to check out for his trainings and the training days are coming up itself. But yes, like you said, you can visit the YouTube page in which is stated. But you can, if you are the type that also likes reading to know more, you can visit Microsoft Learn. So Microsoft Learn is a free site which you can
Okay.
use to learn.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you all. So I just need to ask a simple question. I don't know. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your data cleaning skills using Parkway? I know you use Parkway.
For me, it's low, less than 5.
As for me,
I
I'm
Is the
was
fine.
question for everybody? Is the question for everybody? Or don't know?
Yes, please. Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, mine on a scale of 10, I would say, let me say 7.5 because of that Pavan Lawani resources. Like, the way he did the videos, like by topic. So everything is well sectioned and he created files. So I just practice along everything he's doing. And aside that, you can also check Chandu video. I don't know if you're familiar
Yeah,
with
yeah,
Anyone
yeah.
is familiar with
I'm his
Chandu.
fan. I'm his fan. I'm his fan.
Yeah, he also created some Power Query playlist
Chandu.org.
videos. And make sure you get the practice data set to practice along. That's the only way you can get
Yeah.
better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh,
Hi, sorry, I have a question, please. I'm very sorry to cut you short. So this is Bruno. Anyway, so I don't know if you can hear me, please.
yes, please. Go ahead.
Can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I can hear
Yes.
you.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for the class and every other thing. I actually do have a question to ask. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, so if you can, okay, so currently I'm actually working on a particular data set, and I'm like, so one of the questions or one of the requirements they want is like, they want us to like, they want me to be able to like, okay, let me just read the question. how do you expect strip volume to change relative to last week? So is it the normal variance you're talking about that you just did today, like the week to week percentage variance here? Is that how I'm going to answer the question?
Sorry, I don't know if it is me. I didn't get that question clearly. Please, can you just repeat?
Okay, so as I said
You're
earlier,
going. Mm-hmm.
okay, as I said earlier, I'm actually working on the data sets here, and the data set they
Okay.
require me to okay. The question is, how do you expect trip volume? Trip volume is, well, it's a taxi, it's a taxi data set, and there's a column for trip, like the amount of trips and trip volume any to change relative to last week. So am I to use the variance, the percentage variance, when you compare with last week, or how, or what do you think?
So you want a situation whereby you are in this week, but you need to see the performance of last week and do have
Yes,
a
yes,
comparison
yes, to check the
between this week and last week.
yes, exactly.
Huh?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, just a quick one. So you will answer the question. And Joseph, please admit someone coming in. You will answer the question now. So let me just do this. And okay, let me just a minute. Okay, this is coming up. So let me say measure and say hmm, what is this thing called? Calculate what are we calculating? Revenue, rev sum 2. Let me say rev sum 2. Then from what the previous. So you see here we have previous day. Hello?
Okay, yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, can you see this? We have, because you need to compare this. Okay, here we have previous days, previous months, previous quarter, and previous year. So, but yours is looking at last week and not months comparison. Is that?
Yes, exactly. Yes.
So probably somewhere on your data, you should have what is it called? Those you should have your filter, like a column that contains data pertaining to week, right? For which you can bring in as filter. Once you click on it, it should be able to filter or to streamline your data based and give you a result based on what you've selected in line with the measure you've written. So we have previous month, we have previous year, we have previous quarter. So you can decide to say let me just do this, just a minute. I don't want to use same period. Let me check out this. Just a minute. I'm trying to. Let me see this. Let me see this. And the calendar. Let me just do this. This previous day. Say okay. So let me bring in this, just a minute. Okay. The calendar. Just do this. Is this not showing? Sorry, just a minute. Calculate revenue sum previous. Okay, this data. This my data is done based on months. Let me say this. First month and say okay. Should have my result. Come back to this. Click on months. Take out this. Take out this. And take out this. So basically, what I wanted to explain is this. In this my data set, right? I don't have any column for last week on. If I go to the what is it called? If I go to the data model or the data data model, I don't have any report for the week. But Joseph, hello Joseph. Hi Joseph.
Hi, something I can.
Yeah, I don't know you, although with the confidential stuff, I would have shared the training report. You know the way we normally report for last week and this week, like
Yes,
last
yes,
week and
yes.
so they should have a column inside their data. You should have a column inside your data that will have weeks. That will have the
Yeah.
weeks, but now I don't have any of such, so I can't really like showcase that using
You,
this
you, you,
data.
you could probably add a week to your calendar table. You use a new column and you use the week number from.
Let me see something.
Let me quickly chip in. Joseph, you didn't remember to talk about variables.
Okay,
You said
okay. Yes, I said I wanted to show how we can use variables to do the calendar table. Okay, I would have loved to show that, but we've been trying to be time conscious, even though we've gone way above time.
I
So
don't have that and I can't bring that in now.
Okay.
See,
okay.
Joseph, can I come to your DM? I think we're on the same group on data
let me
click.
see.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I knew I've seen a Mayowa somewhere. Okay, yeah,
Yeah, I
it's
was one
nice.
that shared the stuff on that platform.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, doing
Yeah,
well, Mayowa. It's nice to meet you.
yeah.
Okay, so you
Nice to
can
meet you. Thank you.
okay, not just for Mayowa, you can connect anybody on this call. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, Twitter. You can chat me up. You can chat
On
something
what?
up as well. LinkedIn,
On what?
Twitter, anyone. LinkedIn, Twitter. Oh, yeah, talking about my handle. Maybe
Yeah.
Samson could share the PowerPoint
Okay, let
again.
me just do that again. This thing is not even showing for editing. Okay, this is him. This is Joseph.
So can you copy the Twitter handle and just paste it?
Yeah,
Twitter
I've
and
taken a
LinkedIn.
screenshot. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you can share yours as well, so they know how to connect. Yeah. Okay. So we can continue the conversation from there.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, I would have loved to edit. This thing is not even clicking out. I need to edit this stuff in order to capture the week, but it's not even clicking. Just a minute. I'm still trying. Trying to open the DAX. Because what I don't know who asked that question. So what he asked, can
Sorry, I was
only
a
achieve
person.
it using this my
Sorry,
current stuff.
okay, so I'm the person. Sorry, maybe we should just like call it a day or something. Now we use co-pilots.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Like I said, you can always ask. Due to the updates, you can always ask your AI friend for you. But you have to understand the syntax so you don't just blindly trust the result.
It's serious.
Okay, so Samson,
Okay.
yeah, maybe
Yeah.
you could also reach out to Samson. Maybe he would don't take too much of everyone's time.
Yeah, you can reach out to me. You have my LinkedIn details, so you can just reach out to me. We schedule a call and look into that. Right?
That's fine. I don't know if I'm connected with you, but I'm connected. I connected with Joseph. So maybe
Okay, so I
I'll
just
check it out
posted
from you.
I don't know if you have access to the chat.
Yeah, I do.
So
Hello?
we are connected on LinkedIn,
I
right?
thank you.
Hello.
Hello, yeah.
I since that data is confidential, I would have loved to, if so that at least someone
Okay.
can also learn that this thing. I don't know if the person can share. Though it's
Oh,
confidential, right?
yeah, I guess so.
Okay, so what I would say is if by extension, well, I believe Samson would be able to solve the issue.
Okay.
We could just Samson would release like a blog. I know Samson likes releasing content, so you can look out from Samson. He could release a blog, or he could even schedule a training or so based on just that problem. So
Okay.
look out for Samson LinkedIn. Yeah, you could do that.
Okay.
I could also do that as well. So yeah.
I'm following him on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye.
Great. Yeah, thank you. So I just posted with regards to some DAX and formula, I just posted an article with regards to that. You can just as well check it out alongside the material which I will be sharing with us
All right.
hopefully this night or latest tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay,
Thank you.
so just a minute before we drop off the call, please just leave out this so that's trying to get that. Oh, someone is speaking, please go ahead.
Okay, I don't know. I just dampened on this link, as in like I just opened my WhatsApp and I saw the link. I just entered. I don't know how I followed, but I'm grateful I followed the link. Seriously, I've learned so many things. So I don't know how the training is. Is it like you just decided to just run the training today for people or something like that? I don't know.
Okay. Before this training, right? like I just decided to put this together. I often do this once in a while, once I think every 2 months, about a month or two, about. So and before this very session, we started yesterday, and today is the second session which we are finalizing, right? Before this session, a publicity went out. We had, you know, some posters that went out and email blast to previous of our contacts. So previous participants for the training. Yeah.
Okay. It's all right. It's just I didn't see anything. I just saw a link on WhatsApp and I just followed it. But I'm
Oh,
grateful I came in.
okay.
Like seriously. Most especially that titled this thing, because I've been
Oh,
meaning to have, as in know something, how to navigate between, you know. Thank God I just joined. So
okay.
the if you are putting up the notification for the, it will be on your LinkedIn, right?
Yes, yes, on my LinkedIn.
Okay.
So if you
Thank you.
click on this DAX now, can you see my screen? This DAX. So it should
Yes.
be should take you to LinkedIn so we can connect and always get this thing. And as well, please just try and fill this form. So with this form, further this thing, let's say further can decide to take the advanced DAX, but I don't know, advanced DAX class, it's
Okay,
usually
please,
15 because
please, regarding the form, Samson, sorry for cutting you. Like,
hello,
I don't have access to the I don't have access to the chat, so I won't be able to fill any form. Like,
please, I'm just
so
you said
is it possible to send you my, like, you are saying something about this Google form, like, peradventure, like next, maybe some other time you might have
yeah, just
another session
yeah,
like this.
yeah, I will
So
definitely send that
there's no,
email blast with regards to that as well.
okay, all right. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. I
Yeah,
really
with
appreciate
relation. So just drop your details via that email and just fill it and drop your distance. So maybe sometime in the near future we'll just look at advanced DAX, intermediate and advanced, and not just beginner, because this one is just like beginner DAX, right? So sometimes we'll look
All
at
right.
the intermediate and advanced and look at you know how we can possibly create that. And I believe that won't be a 2 day stuff because we are just trying to cut short the whole stuff and not, bore the session with too many talk, trying to explain a number of things, as well as because
Yeah.
currently we didn't create any, like we didn't visualize most of the DAGs that we did, right? But if you open the Power BI file that I sent, you see under the fact file, you see a number of DAGs that was written there. So let's say, for instance, now this dashboard now. If you go to this dashboard, the home page, right? This is a dashboard I built. So this stuff now, once you publish to Power BI service, I don't know how many of us have a free Power BI service account. So once you publish to Power BI service, right? This stuff now, there's a real level security that I've implemented here. Talking about data security, when you are, although data security is an aspect of this. So look at data security, how best you can protect your data from unauthorized people within the organization having access to whatever report that you've created. That's where role level security comes in now. When you need to implement that, you just need a simple what is it called, DAX function, to create on your Power BI desktop. Then you can then publish to Power BI service. But most people don't know about it because they don't know how to go about, the Power BI service stuff. And even if they know, it's not that, direct. So you are most likely not to get much content around role level security or data security on this thing. And the best way to implement that online, except you've carried out some real life practice, trying to deploy or work for organize or for a client, and like they require all those things, and you try testing it out, and then going forward to put it out for people to stumble upon and learn as well. So maybe probably in the nearest future we'll definitely look at a whole lot of things regarding possibly data transformation and data modeling, which is also a critical stuff. I know that a number of us are familiar with data modeling, but in a situation whereby you are faced with heavy data data sets, that will definitely pose a challenge. I know I've had a number of questions, with regards to that. I've given assistance to a number of persons with regards to that. And we equally look at that as well, how to create a whole lot, using Power BI, DAX.
All right.
Yeah, so once you've dropped your detail, I believe that is enough to get across to you when we come up with the next phase of this training. So thank you everyone for making it. Thank you, Joseph, for the great session.
Yeah, it's a
Thank
pleasure.
you
It's a
for
pleasure
attending,
for
and
me.
for meeting you again.
All right, bye.
Bye. Thank you. Joseph, this year.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you everyone. So we'll be ending this session.